The rest of the world is not interested in a Iran-Israel war, but I am. So let me tell you why the rest of the world is actually wrong and how nuclear Armageddon is sick. I will spend the next 13 minutes describing to you why we have to do it. I'm saying it. Where there was another, here's another horn dog. Here's another guy who is also unimaginably horny to blow up Iran. Let's take a look.
Over the weekend, the Islamic Republic of Iran essentially entered a war directly with the state of Israel. There's no other way to put that. When you fire 170 drones, 30 cruise missiles, and 120 ballistic missiles at another sovereign nation, you are now in a state of war. Now, this has been a long time.
Yeah. Not when you blow up the sovereign nation's embassy, though. When you do that, you're not in a war with them. Only when they retaliate, you're officially in a war with them. Okay, got it. Thanks, Ben.
Time coming. The fact is that the Islamic Republic of Iran has been using all of its proxy terror groups to attack Israel repeatedly for literally decades at this point, from Hezbollah in the north of Israel to Hamas in the south of Israel to now the Houthis in Yemen. They've been using...
He forgot to hit the when he said Houthis. Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza and the Houthis in Yemen.
All of their proxy groups because they do not want Israel to take direct action against the Iranian regime itself. They also understand over in Iran that the rest of the world is not interested in an Israel-Iran direct war. And herein lies the conundrum.
The rest of the world is not interested in a Iran-Israel war, but I am. So let me tell you why the rest of the world is actually wrong and how nuclear Armageddon is sick. Yeah, no, actually, here, I will spend the next 13 minutes describing to you why we have to glass Iran. We have to do it, okay?
For the state of Israel, because after you are attacked with 170 drones, 30 cruise missiles, and 120 ballistic missiles, typically you are going to respond in kind to the country that just attacked you this way. We'll get to Israel's response in just a second. First, the actual news was that on Saturday night in Israel,
I thought he was going to be like, first, the actual news is that a lot of your information online is stolen by third parties. That's why you have to use Aura, especially at the top of the hour when there are ads that are going to be served to you. I'm so used to him hitting an ad break in the midst of his commentary at this point that I genuinely expected him to hit you with a NordVPN in the same way that I hit you with the top of the hour ad break, which, by the way, just like the Iron Dome, you can defend against the hostile ads at the top of the hour by hypothetically using a $5 a month subscription or a free one in the form of a Twitch Prime. By connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, you get one free Prime subscription a month. Two heavyweights doing their thing, baby. That's right. Both Ben and myself, two heavyweights in the ad serving game. Here's the 3-minute ad break now.
Suddenly, people started waking up 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning to the sounds of cruise missiles and ballistic missiles being shot down. The video is absolutely astonishing. It was Israeli weaponry, by the way, that was actually taking down missiles that had been fired near the Dome of the Rock. If it were not for Israel's defensive capacity, many holy sites in Islam would have been destroyed because, again, the only defender...
Yeah. No, that's right. Israel famously loves the holy sites of Islam. So when they're like beating the shit out of, religious worshipers inside of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, for example, they're actually doing that to defend Islam, famously. Or when they kill 30,000 Palestinians and blew up pretty much every mosque in the Gaza Strip, they did that in a defensive way.
Of Christianity, Judaism, and Islam in the Middle East would actually be the state of Israel. Here is some of the dramatic footage as literally hundreds of drones...
This is such obvious, glaringly obvious propaganda that Israel tried to do. And absolutely zero people in the Muslim world look to that and go, yeah, these guys definitely care about defending Islam. Yeah, Iran definitely was trying to blow up the dome. They were trying to blow up Al-Aqsa Mosque, and Israel defended it. It's such a funny talking point because, like, it's almost entirely designed for non-Muslims, okay? There is not a single Muslim on this planet, with the exception of like maybe MBS and like super hardcore, like those sheiks that you see sometimes that dick ride Israel into oblivion. Not a single Muslim person on the planet thinks that Israel legitimately wants to defend Islamic sites of worship. Okay. They know the truth. So obviously They're not cutting this propaganda to bring Muslims on board. No, they're cutting this propaganda to get the Christians to be like, oh, look at how hypocritical these goddamn Iranians are. Iranians. I hate the shit. The ballistic missile guidance systems literally need to be targeted and inputted before a strike. So Iran would have to deliberately target the third holiest site in Islam. Exactly. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Just not a single person legitimately believes that unless they are, trying to unconditionally defend Israel and do so for financial gain or because they just love Israel that much.
Drones and cruise missiles and ballistic missiles were shot over the state of Israel on Saturday night. It's about 1:45 a.m. Saturday night in Jerusalem.
It's a little different. It's hard for me to assess. There's the sirens now. Guys, are we on air?
You can see the incoming
and those are the
cruise missiles
Nick Robertson, you are on air.
And ballistic missiles being shot down by Israel's anti-weaponry. This is directly over the Dome of the Rock. That's the Temple Mount, the holiest site in Judaism, the third holiest site in Islam. Again, this is directly over Israel's capital city in Jerusalem. So dramatic footage in Ashkelon.
Yeah, definitely. Iran was trying to target the Al-Aqsa Mosque, Ben. Thank you. Well, knowing how much of a defender of Islam you are and how much of a defender of Islam the Israeli state is, I, of course, being the dumbest person on the planet, definitely believe what you're saying. I am now convinced the caliphate will start in Israel. I was wrong. Many people have called me a neo-Ottomanist caliphate defender and a supporter of Erdogan for that reason. Turns out Benjamin Netanyahu will wield, as someone said in the chat, the sword of Islam. That's right.
In Israel,
Alhamdulillah, he has said the Shahada. Joe Biden was wrong when he said he's going to have a come to Jesus moment. He meant come to Isa, which is, of course, an accepted prophet in Islam. Benjamin al-Netanyahu is now the official defender of Islam. He is going to be, he has said the Shahada. He will be going to Jannah. He is the true supporter and defender of Islam.
Which is near the South Israel. Looks like a fireworks show. As Iranian drones are shot down over the state of Israel. Ashkelon is a major city in Israel's south on the coast. And this sort of footage is shocking. Israel's success rate here was even more shocking. So in what can only be described as a technological miracle, and if you're a religious person, obviously, when you see the miraculous in real life, you attribute that to the hand of God as well as to the hand of technology. But it
is so far removed from God. That literally is actually man overcoming God in every sense of the word. You just watched years and years of technological advancement, and it is truly a marvel, I have to admit. It is ridiculous to say that this is the hand of God. It is not. It is the opposite of God. It is science. Okay? It's also our tax dollars at work in many respects, but that's besides the point.
It can only be described as miraculous that 99% of all ordnance emanating from Iran here was shot down by the Israelis and the UK and the United States. Here's Clarissa Ward of CNN explaining just how successful the defensive measures were put forward by the state of Israel as well as Jordanian forces. Jordan's revealed preference, by the way, is now for the state of Israel. Revealed preference is when you say that you're for a thing, but what you're actually for is another thing. Jordan has been proclaiming that it's very, very much pro-Hamas and the Palestinians.
No, they have. It's so funny. No, you only say that because you think that they're like too Arab adjacent, okay? That they're just like Arab. So you're like, yeah, their preference is towards Hamas. Like, no, man. Yeah, I'm shocked to see that the British Empire placement in the Jordanian monarchy that has been personally squashing pro-Palestinian protests by force for the past 6 months actually is supporting Israel here. Like, that's crazy. Wow, dude. I can't believe it.
And then when it comes down to it, they really, really don't like Iran at all. And so they're shooting down incoming ordnance.
You're wrong. They do posture as pro-Palestinian. Yes, everyone postures as pro-Palestinian because they have to respond to public sentiment because the Jordanian public is pro-Palestinian, just like the Saudi public is pro-Palestinian. So every administration in the region, in an effort to make it seem like they are in line with the interests of their citizens will say that they're pro-Palestinian. Jordan will also obviously allow humanitarian aid to go through. Jordan will also do humanitarian aid drops, but so does America. Do you think America is pro-Palestinian by that very same metric? Or do you think America is pro-Israel? Of course, the leadership of these countries are in support of, they're in support of the big guy in the room, which is America, and also by way of America, Israel.
Over Jordan.
Ben Shapiro, by the way, did say Joe Biden is pro-Hamas. So, he is just an insane person.
The United States, the UK, even France got involved in shooting down much of this material in an attempt to avoid an escalatory war in the region. Here's Clarissa Warr explaining the success rate.
President Biden has urged Israel not to escalate further, but one Israeli official telling CNN that they will respond. It's simply a matter of the scale and scope of what that response will be. This after, as you mentioned, 300 cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, drones fired towards Israel last night, 99% of them intercepted. But tellingly, the IDF has said that a number, they won't give the specific number, of ballistic missiles did make impact at the Nevatim Air Force Base in southern Israel. That is where those F-35 fighter jets are based.
Okay, it did very minor damage at the Air Force Base in the south of Israel. Not enough.
It's so weird that those missiles hit this remote Air Force base when Ben Shapiro and everyone else has been saying that Iran was just trying to simply hit all of the population centers to kill as many Israelis as possible. I guess those were those missiles were trying to kill as many civilians as possible, but then ended up being redirected to the Air Force Base or something. I don't know. It must have been a coincidence. Was it actually minor damage? I think it wasn't as big. The damage was not as big as the way that the Iranian side presented it. I have yet to see it, but yeah, it was a civilian military base where they were keeping their commercial F-35s. Those F-35s are civilian F-35s. You do not understand. There was one Bedouin girl that was hurt by shrapnel. Yes, there was a little girl hurt by shrapnel in the south. Unfortunately, as I'm sure you know, this Volodymyr Zelensky, that Bedouin areas, due to them being somewhat nomadic and also due to them not getting a lot of political cover from Israel, oftentimes live in areas where they don't get any Iron Dome defense coverage as well, or sometimes they end up even in Palestinian, even when Hamas rockets are being launched into Israel, anytime there's casualties, most of those casualties do come still from the Bedouin villages. You joke, but just saying that added 2 years and $10 billion to the F-35 program to develop a civilian version.
Enough damage to actually stop that base from working. It did no damage to Israel's F-35 fleet. Again, this was not just an Israeli effort. The United States, Britain, Jordan, and France all helped to intercept the massive barrage of drones that Iran fired at Israel overnight on Saturday, according to the Times of Israel. The United States and Israel, of course, had been bracing for an attack for days after Iran said that it would retaliate for a suspected Israeli strike this month on what Tehran claims was a consular building in Syria, killing 12 people, including the 2 senior Iranian generals in the Revolutionary Guard's elite Quds force. According to the Pentagon, the United States forces intercepted dozens of missiles and drones launched from Iran, Iraq, Syria.
The Bedouins aren't allowed to build bomb shelters, and the father of the slain girl has an order to have his house destroyed. The father of the Bedouin girl injured in the Iranian strike complains that Israel doesn't allow his community to build bomb shelters and shows the Israeli state's demolition order for his home. Yeah, but hey, they did a really good propaganda by being like, lol, Iran almost killed a Bedouin girl. Remember there were chatters when I was describing to them the living conditions of the Bedouin in the chat on the day of this strike, when we found out that the one casualty was a 7-year-old girl, a 7-year-old Bedouin girl. And I said that this is because in many instances, the Bedouin villages are, 1, slated for destruction by the Israeli state, and 2, rarely get Iron Dome coverage. And there were chatters in here that were trying to tell me that that was wrong. There are fake info on your Wikipedia page, man. Will you deal with it? I don't know what it is. And then one of the chatters literally said, no, she didn't die. One of the chatters literally said, well, the Iron Dome has priorities. Yeah. Using Arabs as a prop is Classic. Amina, the only badly injured person recorded in Israel in this unprecedented attack by Tehran, was placed in intensive care with a serious head injury, said the Soroka Hospital in the city of Beersheba. The little girl belongs to the Bedouin community, descendants of Muslim Arab shepherds who live in the Negev and are often denied many of the rights granted to other citizens. People will say the Iron Dome has priorities and deny there's an apartheid ethno-state. No, the liberal Zionist argument for the Bedouins not getting ample coverage from the Iron Dome is that they're nomadic. Just learn the propaganda. For those of you, if you want to encounter it, if you encounter it in the wild, remember the real more correct way to try and massage this narrative is to say that, well, the Bedouins are nomadic, so we don't know where they are, so we can't offer them ample coverage in the Iron Dome. That is the liberal Zionist version of doing this propaganda. Israel was scheduling to demolish her house in 2 weeks. Yeah. We have no shelter, lamented Amina's father, who criticized Israeli authorities for leaving him and his family at the mercy of rockets and missiles. What's the counter to that? Oh, it's just bullshit. It's bullshit. They have villages. Israel refuses to recognize said villages and refuses that and routinely demolishes them to build Jewish settlements. Oh, whoa. What is this? What is this? You riled her up. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one. She being kind of a good girl today, so. Did you watch the rest of Fallout? Oh. It was really good. I'm trying to get Murad to watch Fallout. They watched the first episode. I like that the English Iranian girl earlier using this Bedouin for Israeli PR. She has not read this, I guess. No, there's a reason why this is on uknews.yahoo.com, okay? You will not hear this. You will not hear this this kind of coverage in many of the mainstream media. Anyway, the worst take you've ever had is that the Fallout show is good. It's phenomenal. It's really good. Murad said you definitely had worse takes. Anyway, let's finish this Ben Shabibo
and Yemen
argument.
that were headed toward Israel. Again, this is a testament to the technological superiority of Israel and its allies here. Israel has a wide variety of defensive measures that it took against these particular incoming missiles and drones. Most of it was actually shot down before it ever reached the state of Israel. Israel has what's called the Arrow 3, which intercepts ballistic missiles and handles longer range and higher altitude interceptions, including exo-atmospheric. In fact, there was some film that was pretty astonishing of Israel using what looks like essentially Reagan-esque Star Wars to shoot down a missile in the higher.
It is cool as fuck. That shit is definitely a technological marvel for sure.
Atmosphere. They have the Arrow 2, which is for endo and exo-atmospheric interception capabilities. They have David Sling, which is for surface-to-surface missiles. And then, of course, Iron Dome, which is for short-range rockets.
Arrow 3 missiles cost $3 million USD each to shoot down missiles worth 10 times less.
We'll get to more on this in a moment. First, using the internet without ExpressVPN. Receive a VPN.com/Ben. I've been using ExpressVPN myself for years. You should too. ExpressVPN.com/Ben. Now, Iran, for its part, is saying that they are done and they are threatening to hit American bases if Washington backs an Israeli counterattack. According to the Times of Israel, top Iranian commanders warned Israel on Sunday the country would face a bigger attack if it retaliates against overnight drone and missile strikes, adding that Washington has been told not to back any military action from its ally. Iran's Armed Forces Chief of Staff Major General Mohammad Bagheri told State TV, quote, "Our response will be much larger than tonight's military action if Israel retaliates against Iran." Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi said if the Zionist regime, that'd be Israel, or its supporters demonstrate reckless behavior, they will receive a decisive and much stronger response. Now, Iran's been trying to play this off as a victory. On Iranian TV, they've been showing footage of fires from Chile, pretending that it's actually fires from Israel. They're propagandizing to their own population that this was not, in fact, a humiliating evening for the Iranian forces, which it was. When you fire off that much ordnance and nearly all of it gets shot down, and the only person who is severely wounded happens to be an Israeli Arab girl, 7-year-old girl, who may die because of the Iranian assault.
Yeah, 7-year-old Arab girl. Bro, don't act like you give a shit about 7-year-old Arab girls, okay? Like, you literally openly advocate to melt them in Gaza. Humiliating. Is this the Middle East version of the Northern Lights? It's just like, no, the girl wasn't at a military base, chatters. What the Bro, you guys have to understand something. When a missile gets intercepted, it doesn't matter, okay? It can still have shrapnel that falls on top of a civilian population. The only missiles that actually struck Israeli targets were the ones who landed in the airbase. It is not a made-up example. An actual 7-year-old girl was harmed by shrapnel and has like head trauma, okay, and had to be hospitalized. But that was shrapnel, okay, from an intercepted missile or potentially a drone. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know the exact I don't know the exact details of it. That part is correct. That did happen. What also happened, however, is that that little girl, as we found out, is a part of a Bedouin tribe whose family has a house slated to be demolished by the Israeli state. Yeah, it was an intercepted ballistic missile near Nevatim Air Base. The Nevatim Air Base, as far as I understand it, is like in a desolate area. It is isolated for the most part because the Iranian targets were military targets. Okay? Yeah, suddenly we can believe what Israel says. Israel injuring random kid and blames it on Iran. You guys are insane, dude. If you think that like Israel personally bludgeoned this little girl to do propaganda. No, this is a... Oh my God. Oh my God. Dude. It is a normal consequence of sending missiles to Israel that one of them shrapnel might have struck a civilian. Okay? I don't think Israel personally lobbed a shrapnel at the head of a 7-year-old girl. Okay? No, I'm certain that I'm certain that this part is correct. I think some of you are so understandably you don't trust anything that Israel says, but fail to consider that like this is a realistic scenario. Okay? We don't have to use lies like Israel does. We can analyze the situation and find the truth. Exactly. You're certain because you just guessed so? Yes. That's a big chunk of how you analyze the situation. You measure it on the likelihood of it happening. The actual smarter analysis here is to recognize that the living conditions of the Bedouin are not great in an apartheid regime that treats Palestinian citizens as second-class citizens, even those who it has given full-blown citizenship to. If we're both guessing, yeah, and we both are guessing, I am still closer to what I suspect is the truth. It is likely that especially Bedouins that don't have bomb shelters, especially Bedouins that don't get broad coverage to the Iron Dome, could possibly, as I know, as it has happened in the past, could possibly be harmed by any kind of missile strikes, more so than someone living in Tel Aviv. Over 120,000 Bedouins live in unrecognized villages. They're not connected to the water pipeline nor infrastructure, and their houses are repeatedly destroyed. I remember a Gideon Levy article about a Bedouin village that was destroyed over 50 times, which is quite the record. In the Second Lebanon War, 19 of the 44 Israeli civilians killed were Arab citizens in the north who did not have bomb shelters and weren't evacuated. Do you understand? Perhaps I know a little bit more than you do in the situation, given for the past 10 years of my coverage on this matter, that I'm a little bit more familiar with what happens when, in the past, for example, when like Hamas or Palestinian resistance groups launch rockets and Israel claims casualties, okay? Most of the time, those casualties are predominantly Palestinian citizens of Israel. Most of the time, they are from Bedouin villages. Bedouin villages do not get the same level of coverage and protection from the Iron Dome that Israeli citizens get when they live in urban areas. Each ballistic missile intercepted will break into dozens of bits high up in the atmosphere to cover a large area. 120 ballistic missiles were fired and dozens were reportedly intercepted, so there will be massive shrapnel. The videos showing glowing projectiles over Jerusalem were actually large shrapnel from downed missiles. Anyway.
It turns out that is a signal military failure. Clearly a signal military failure. So the question becomes here, what happened? In order to understand what's about to happen going forward, you have to understand how we got here.
Are we cheering for Iran now? Some people are cheering for Iran. Some people are cheering for Israel. I'm over here cheering for the rule of law. That's right. That's why I'm cheering for, what's his face? Robert Mueller and the rule of law. That's a deep cut. I don't even know if that chatter is going to understand.
So the first thing to understand, obviously, is that Iran was in a catch-22. That catch-22 is a catch-22 of its own making. So Iran, the way this whole conflict started on October 7th, is that Iran was deeply afraid that Israel was about to sign a new Abraham Accord with the Saudi government. That was very close. Everyone was openly discussing this. And that would have solidified a Sunni-Israeli pact against Shia aggression in the Middle East. Iran then would have effectively been boxed in. Because the reality is,
Megaphonics, how do you have that ready to go? How do you have a Krasenstein tweet from 2019 ready to go as soon as I mention it? That's insane. I mean, respect. While many of you are likely yelling, go Patriots or go Rams, I'm yelling, go Robert Mueller and the rule of law. Listen, many Americans are understandably anti-ISIS. I myself am also anti-ISIS. And I usually use that as my moral compass, like the thing that grounds my morals. I'm anti-ISIS. So if one state in the region is also anti-ISIS and kills a lot of ISIS members, and the other state actually offers cover to Salafists and ISIS members, then I'm going to be a lesser evil voter and say that I usually sometimes land on the side that is anti-ISIS. Now, why did I actually bring this up? Well, that's because one state has actually killed a shit ton of ISIS members, Iran, and another state that has actually offered health care and protection to ISIS members, the state of Israel. So do with that information what you will. Okay? It's called lesser evil voting, sweetie. I am a Democrat after all.
is that an American-backed Sunni-Israeli alliance would be extraordinarily powerful in the region. It would be a massive counterweight to terror groups in Yemen and Hezbollah and Hamas and Iran itself. Iran was feeling quite boxed in. And so Iran activated through.
What I'm elaborating on is this. IDF chief finally acknowledged that Israel supplied weapons to Syrian rebels. For the first time, Israel describes the aid work it carries out in Syria. Or Syrian fighters rescued by the IDF. The war next door. Israel reportedly providing direct aid and funding to Syrian rebels. It has been known that Israeli hospitals have treated wounded Syrian fighters, but Wall Street Journal report uncovers direct support in cash without which fighters say they wouldn't have survived. It's al-Nusra, which is not ISIS. That's why I said Salafist. And no, these aren't the Syrian rebels like friend of the show Brace Belden fought alongside. These are the other Syrian rebels. These are not the Rojava Kurds. You said ISIS though? That's so funny. Oh wait, are you a supporter of al-Nusra? I'm confused. Wait, wait. I'm sure al-Nusra is a moderate democratic rebel group. Wait. Chat's like, no, you don't understand. They're actually aligned with Al-Qaeda, so it's different. No, one of the chatters was actually joking. The other chatter was being dead serious when he was like, you actually said ISIS. So, no, the chatter that said, I'm sure al-Nusra is a moderate democratic rebel group is joking. The other chatter that said, you said ISIS, though, is 1,000,000% serious and doesn't think that this distinction is one without a difference. He thinks that distinction is very serious and very different. As a matter of fact, nah, they're still fucked up just being accurate to the facts. Oh, dude, you got me. That's why I said Salafist as well after saying ISIS. Rather, was. Is that better? And then this guy is going, isn't this the same terror group which Turkey supported / still supports? Turkey did support some of these guys. I don't know why you would think that this is important. Like, unless you somehow think that I am, because I'm Turkish, I agree with the Turkish government's decision that was backed by the United States of America, by the way. Like, Turkey's support for Salafist groups on the ground was, an American American decision. NATO member Turkey. My bad, didn't hear that. Okay. Anyway, that's why I said lesser evil voting, boys. It's just normal lesser evil voting stuff.
Through this General Mohammad Reza Zahedi, who's the head of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, at least its terror operations in Syria, Lebanon, and via Hamas, they greenlit the October 7th attacks that killed 1,200 Israelis and took 250 hostage, 133 Israelis still missing, most presumed dead, dozens still held hostage in Hamas terror tunnels. That was specifically designed in order to elicit a military response from Israel that would supposedly put the nascent Sunni-Israeli alliance on hold. That was the entire goal, was to reorient the Middle East. And the Biden administration, acting as cowards, decided to basically go along with that instead of doing what the Biden administration should have done, which is say to Israel, do what you need to do to finish off Hamas, take that Iranian pawn off the board. And then if you need to, make a move against Hezbollah in the north, which has been threatening Israel.
Yeah, dude, Iran and Saudi Arabia were going to join hands together. That's what everyone was thinking, that these guys were actually going to, they were going to be like, yeah, you know what? Actually, we were wrong. My bad. The current Saudi kingdom was going to be like, yeah, actually, I know where my bread is buttered, but I actually do love Iran now, despite the fact that I've been fighting against them and hate them so much more than I hate Israel. And I don't really hate Israel at all.
For years. Then do that as well, because only strength works in the Middle East. And the only way you're ever going to get a Saudi-Israeli deal is if the Saudis believe that the Israelis are militarily powerful to rebut all attempts to destroy them and or do significant damage to their civilian base. What the Biden administration should have done in the aftermath of October 7th is given Israel the green light to do what it needed to do with Hamas and Hezbollah. No American troops involved. Continued funding to the Israeli military, which of course means buying from American sources. Move forward and demonstrate strength. Instead, the Biden administration over time began to put more and more shackles on the Israeli Defense Force in Israel's attempt to extirpate Hamas and also to counter Hezbollah. And Iran saw the gap. The reason that this latest attack happened is because Iran saw the gap. Israel took out the general who had greenlit the October 7th attacks.
The guy was actually, he was an October 7 general. Dude, it's crazy. Anyone that Israel targets, no matter where they're targeting it, is actually Hamas somehow. Yeah. Shit, dude, my bad. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, totally. Yeah. It's just like Netanyahu, the American State Department, Iranian leadership, Hamas leadership, all in unison collectively said that Iran did not participate in 10-7 until it was actually, until Israel wanted to kill some IRGC generals on Iranian soil in an Iranian embassy. And then they decided, actually, he did plan October 7. He literally did it. Yeah, no, everybody collectively was like, yeah. Even Iran was literally, after October 7, they were like, listen, that shit was awesome, but we didn't have any part in that. You know, make no mistake. Give it up for the goats, basically, was the Iranian response to October 7. They were like, holy f***, we had no idea that this was going on. We would have loved to be a part of it, but we didn't know. Do we know why they attacked the consulate? Because they wanted to clap IRGC generals. That's it. The IRGC generals that they shot, the IRGC generals that they killed in the Iranian embassy were leaders of the Quds Force that play a big role in the planning of attacks by Iranian proxies in the region, in specifically, I believe specifically Syria and Iraq. That's it. They wanted to take out high-ranking IRGC officials. Can we believe Iran, though? Well, there's a reason why I know, because of the automatic consideration that we can never believe Iran, we can only trust Israel. I gave you Israeli officials and also American officials that also corroborated what Iran was saying. I actually used Iran as the last group. Notice how you conveniently didn't hear the parts where I said the Israeli official said that Iran played no role in October 7 and the American official said that Iran played no role in October 7. They also wanted to sabotage the Cairo talks, which weren't doing so well anyway. Same thing with assassinating Hania's children. Yeah, and grandchildren. Exactly. I don't know why Americans and Israeli officials don't understand that, like, opening up the world to the possibility that you can strike embassies and opening up the rest of the world to the possibility that, like, all matter of high-ranking officials, both in the army and also in government, is fair play, is a dangerous prospect for them. This is something that I don't understand, because these guys in positions of power love self-preservation. They operate on self-preservation quite a bit, to a fault, I would say. That's why you always see positive coverage of like dead leaders, no matter how big of an asshole they were, whether it be Henry Kissinger or George H.W. Bush. Why do they do that? Because they know one day they'll die and they want that same kind of positive coverage. That's self-preservation. So why doesn't that extend to, like, you know, assassinating high-ranking officials on their own nation's soil? Because if Israel had struck a military base where these Iranian officials were at, okay, Iran would not have the same international jurisdiction to be able to retaliate. They still would have been very mad. They still probably would have wanted to retaliate, as a matter of fact. But given how restrained the Iranian response has been since October 7, I doubt that they would have done anything. But they didn't do that. They hit them in an Iranian embassy on Iranian soil. They did that because they thought opportunity. It's a great opportunity to do that. Remove Israel from the world. Muslims just kill each other next. Great take, man. Wait, I thought it was in Syria. Am I wrong? It was. It was in Damascus. Damascus also has embassies in it in Syria. An embassy and an embassy compound is technically the soil of the foreign state. Legally, you're not allowed to do that. You can't strike someone's unless you are in war with them, I guess. And even then, there's some legal distinctions. But if they had no choice, then why take 78% and not the 56% the UN dedicated to? Wait, what? Also, why don't you take the Palestinians from Israel proper and make them first-class citizens? Why not allow them the right to return, which is also a U.S. decision? How do you respond to someone saying that the atrocities in Israel like the U.S., but that the Jewish people had no choice but to colonize the land because the UN gave it to them? Bro, you've asked this question a million times over. This is like first day talking points. I've made many videos on the matter. You can resort to those videos if you need talking points or just think about it thoroughly a little bit. There is no defensive settler colonial violence. That it just doesn't work that way. Legally, it is not their soil. No, it is. It is technically their soil. What are we talking about? Dude, you would not have the same attitude if an American administration official or an American general was bombed in an American embassy, okay? We would find out very quickly that it is actually American soil. Is the embassy actually Iranian soil? I was looking it up and it seems that is a misconception. It is functionally a part of the nation state's sovereignty. Okay, you are violating a nation's sovereignty if you attack their embassy.
And Iran was faced with this geopolitical prospect. One, the possibility that it would be seen as weak by its own people for not responding to Israel taking out General Mohammad Reza Zahedi in Syria.
People bringing up the Libyan embassy is so funny. Yeah, look at what happened to Look at what happened to Libya. Like, yeah, exactly. Literally. And that was a nation that was already in conflict with the United States of America at the time. Iran and Israel are not in direct conflict with one another. They are not openly in war with one another. That's why they fight through proxies.
They can't be seen to look weak in the face of this. And two, they saw an opening with the Biden administration. They saw that because the Biden administration had been putting so much pressure on the Israeli government, they felt maybe there's a gap there that we can exploit. Maybe we can up the ante. Maybe we can demonstrate to the Saudis and to the Israelis that we can flex some muscle and show our power. The problem they had is they weren't sure just how far they could go in attacking Israel without the United States either directly responding or unshackling Israel. That was their catch-22. They needed to do something in response to the killing of General Mohammad Reza Zahedi.
He's like, it seems like he's mad. I mean, he's always mad, but he's like extra mad that Iran's retaliation was like ascetic and not as aggressive so that there would be righteous cause for Israel to go and bomb Iranian soil. It's pretty awesome. He's just like, I hate that the Iranian retaliation was minor. If it was a little bit more major, I could just hornily talk about how we should glass Tehran tomorrow.
Hedi, who, of course, was killed in response to October 7th. That's why he's dead.
Yeah, no, that's not correct, by the way.
But it couldn't be strong enough that would actually elicit a full-scale military response from Israel, greenlit by the United States. So what did they do? It sounds very much as though the United States was approached via channels by the Iranians. And the Iranians basically said, we're going to do something. And we just want to make sure that what we do is not enough for you to take the chains off of Israel. That's what it sounds very much like at this point. According to the Jerusalem Post, in a stunning report, Iran apparently informed Turkey in advance of its planned operation.
He's mad that Iranian response was calculated, dude. What the He's not wrong. He's literally upset. He's upset that Iran gave prior information ahead of time before it struck Israeli soil.
Against Israel, a Turkish diplomatic source told Reuters on Sunday, adding that Washington had then responded to Tehran via Ankara that any action it took had to be within certain limits. You want to talk about a betrayal of an American ally? That is a betrayal of an American ally. So two things can be true at once. One, the United States can use its military might and billions of dollars in military weaponry in order to shoot down Iranian threats. Second, the United States apparently, according to this report, actively greenlit a limited attack on its own ally from the Islamic terror regime of Iran.
Yeah, no shit, dog. What do you mean? Yes. Yeah. This is literally the best of both worlds for everyone involved. A limited attack that is very restrained, that can be thwarted with American weapons, which is exactly what happened, that gives some level of like political cover to the Iranian state so that they don't come across like they have no power whatsoever in the region, that would then embolden Israel further to attack even more Iranian targets. Yeah, no, this was a deliberate, calculated, tactical a tactical response to Israel trying to desperately expand the conflict. Unless you also personally, without thinking of the long-term implications of this, want Israel to greatly broaden the conflict and directly engage in state versus state actions and I guess like try to draw America into the war and open up an entirely new front, you should be happy about this. You should be saying, look how wonderful it was. Look how wonderful it was that American weapons and the Israeli defense capabilities are sick. Iran was embarrassed with this action.
That's what this report is effectively saying. And the reason that Biden would do that is because he knew that Iran had to show its own people that it was going to stand up muscularly against the evil Zionist regime. And at the same time, Biden did not want this escalating.
Ben is so funny because, like, he is smart enough to recognize what's happening, but also bloodthirsty enough that he still gets mad. If you are smart enough to understand what the fuck is going on here, then you should be recognizing that this is not even good for Israel in the long run. Opening up another front while you're doing genocide, especially against a militant state that has literally designed its weapons specifically to, blow up your shit, that has proxies all over the region, is probably not the best idea if your goal is to do complete ethnic cleansing. This is literally the Hitler trap. It's like moving your troops into Russia in the middle of the winter. The fuck? I don't know. It's weird that he has this take.
Into a full-scale Israeli retaliation. And so the happy medium for Joe Biden was green light an attack that would cost America significant military resources and Israel significant military resources, literally billions of dollars in military resources, allow Iran to get away with a massive missile and drone attack on an actual sovereign country, and then tell Israel to stand down. That appears to have been the Biden plan here, at least according to the...
I think he's just really horny to shit on Biden, so he's just saying this, not recognizing that it's like probably in the interest of Israel to not, in the grander scheme of things, if your goal is to complete the final solution on the Palestinians, it's probably better to be a little bit more restrained and not open up a new front against Iran.
The Jerusalem Post.
I guess maybe he thinks that like they have a final solution contingency plan akin to the camps during the Holocaust, but he's wrong. What I want is Ben's answer to this. What's the alternative to what he's inaccurately describing as greenlighting? Iran's attacks, what? Bomb them so they don't do the attacks? Like, what was America supposed to do when Iran said they were going to bomb? I don't think that Israel has a contingency plan for the final solution. Like, they don't. In the same way that the Nazis did. The Nazis had already put all of the people that they consider to be political dissidents and people that they wanted to kill in concentration camps at that point, and they were already killing them. All they needed to do was basically increase the intensity of the killing. Israel, on the other hand, does not have a fully functioning, fully operational concentration camp that it has placed Palestinians into in this analogy. So they wouldn't even be able to complete the final solution if they were to open up another front against Iran. That's why I'm saying it's short-term thinking. Even if I were to place myself, Gaza isn't a concentration camp, not in the same way that concentration camps were a concentration camp. Gaza is more so a ghetto. You still need to bomb them instead of, ordering people to walk into a oven. My point is, it's easier to kill people in large numbers in a desperate moment in this other example than it is to like kill them in Gaza, because you very much need to use those bombs now against Iran if you were to open up another front.